Let's talk about neural tension. Neural tension is not something that we want. Muscles and nerves are foundationally different. Muscles like to do all sorts of things. They like to squeeze and contract, they like to stretch. Nerves are not the same thing. Nerves like to be one preset length, and they like to be able to floss through their tunnels without that length changing. What happens when we have a nerve irritation is that nerve gets stuck or adhered somewhere, say maybe in the spine or in the glute, and now that nerve is getting stretched and tugged on, and it can create a lot of obvious symptoms like numbness and tingling, burning, radiating, things of that nature, but it can also create a lot of symptoms that are not that obvious, such as tightness, which might feel good when you stretch it, but we gotta be careful about the way that we stretch. So the purpose of this video is to talk about what neural tension is, what are some common positions people put themselves in that might be creating some of this nerve irritation unbeknownst to them, and how to fix it. So when we think about nerve irritation, literally the test that we do, the position that would irritate your nerve the most would be the following. Slouch position, sometimes people feel that in their back or down their leg immediately. And then also straightening the knee out and pointing the toes back to the head. Now, this is called a slump test. If you find yourself in one of these positions, especially for a prolonged period of time, and you have a history of nerve irritation, also known as sciatica, we need you to stop doing that and we need to modify your position. So the three most common situations that I think of when I hear about this slump posture, first thing is hamstring stretching. A lot of people when they stretch their hamstring, they'll do something to the effect of this, where they have their legs straight, their toes pointing back to their head, and then they kind of lean back and like, oh man, this feels like a great hamstring stretch. And you're right, it is a great hamstring stretch. The only caveat I would make is we don't want that toe pointing back towards your head, because the nerve comes all the way from the back, down the glute, down the hamstring, down to the calf, into the base of the foot. So when you do this hamstring stretch, feel free, go crazy, lock yourself in a dark room and do it. Just point your toe down like this and then send your hips back. And what you'll find is that does not feel nearly as intense of a stretch. And the reason being is because now you're actually stretching just your hamstrings and not your nerve. Because when you move your foot back and forth, your hamstring doesn't cross your ankle, but your nerve does. So when you point those toes back towards your head, you're tensioning that nerve, which could create these uncomfortable sensations that you may be feeling. So again, to review, hamstring stretching, go nuts, point the toe down. Second thing is driving. A lot of people, this is in particular to people that have sciatica down the right side of their leg, they'll be driving and they'll have their legs straight like this and their back might be slouched because car seats are more bucketed, right? This looks very similar to this. And you have to have your toes pointing back to change the pedals. So in this situation, we can do two things. First thing we want to do is we want to get a bend in that knee. So bring the car seat closer. When you have a bend in your knee, that decreases the tension that you feel through your nerve and you're good to go. If you feel like you're too close to the wheel, you can simply recline the seat back a little bit and then you're good to go. And that'll actually get you out of a slouched posture and put you in a little bit more of a neutral spine. A third thing that you could do is take a few towel rolls and put them in the small of your back, which will help arch your back, and that'll also help protect your spine. But the knee bend is absolutely crucial to driving, so bring that seat closer, and that's the absolute key. The third and final thing that I see a lot of people get stuck on is when they're relaxing at the end of a long day. So what they'll do is they'll sit on their chaise lounge or their L sectional, and they'll kind of kitty corner themselves and sit slumped with both their legs straight like this. Again, that looks like our slump test. We don't want that for you. So you can sit in this position, it's fine. Just make sure that you bend your knees, maybe place some pillows, but as long as your knees are bent and your toes are pointing down, those two things have to happen together when you're lying down, you should be okay. So I think generally speaking, the principle speaks louder than the examples. So if you find yourself throughout your day doing something like this, or like this, reconsider those positions because they're probably irritating you, maybe not in the moment, but maybe a few hours down the line, your nerve symptoms get worse and you're wondering why. Sometimes nerves can have delayed responses and it's really difficult to be able to wean out what's bothering you. But generally speaking, these types of slumped positions where your back is rounded and your legs are straight with your knees straight are usually the cause of a lot of these issues. So I hope